Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news for Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Election coverage. I'm Avalon Purnell.
And I'm Jenny Helwig. It's 9 p.m. and the polls closed about 2 hours ago. Let's take a look at our current statewide numbers.
Right now, we know that Ben Klein has been confirmed as the incumbent and expected winner of the race for the 6th district. Right now, 65.3% of the votes, and with 248 precincts out of the 323 have reported so far.
Let's take a look at our overall state breakdown of House districts in Virginia. Before the election tonight, we had 7 districts underneath Democratic control and 4 districts underneath Republican control. That's likely to change tonight.
Absolutely. Right now, we're expecting that the Democrats and the Republicans have already secured 4 each, but there are still 3 seats up for grabs, and we're going to continue to watch to see which seats will be grabbed by who.
Up next, looking at some local races, we have the Lexington City Council race. We only have 1 precinct of 4 reporting, but we do have some numbers. So we have Charles Smith, the incumbent, with 30% of the vote, David Sigler with 29.6% of the vote, and Nicholas Betts with 24.4% of the vote, and Colette Berry-Reck with 13.9% of the vote. We do have 4 candidates for 3 seats.
Absolutely. And Lexington City had a referendum on the ballot. Right now, voters were deciding between whether the school board should be elected or continue to remain as a government appointment. We have 69.4% of the voters have said yes so far, with 1 out of 4 precincts reporting. Now, some interesting results are already coming in, but now we'll go to our anchor, Chaz Chappell, who's live from the Republican Party's gathering at Salerno's in downtown Lexington. Chaz?
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Chair of the RARC, Doug Smith. And Doug, how is this night looking for Republicans? How are we feeling about the results coming in for the House of Representatives races?
The early results which are coming in, they're not all complete. I think look very good for the Republicans. Certainly the 2nd district, I think we're going to flip, the Tidewater area. 10th may be a tougher challenge. 7th we haven't really heard too much about, but I think we at least have an excellent chance of flipping 2 of 3 House seats in Virginia.
Awesome. And have you spoken with Representative Klein this evening?
No, I have not. I know he's up at his victory party up in Winchester. I'm sure he's attracted a big crowd up there. He's very popular in the district. I think the results will show that. He had already faced off against Jennifer Lewis before and won quite handily, and I expect the same result tonight in a very red district.
Absolutely. So it looks like many different media outlets have called the race for Ben Klein. So in your opinion, what are some of the main points on his agenda going forward that you would like to see him highlight?
Ben Klein is a member of the House Freedom Caucus, which of course is probably some of the more conservative members of the House. He takes a very keen interest in fiscal matters. I'm sure they're going to launch initiatives to try and control out-of-control spending by our federal government. He's also on the House Judiciary Committee, and he's not so well known there, but I expect Jim Jordan will become the head of the House Judiciary, and so some very serious questions will be asked of the executive branch, looking into how the FBI has conducted itself over the past few years at behest of the Biden administration, among other things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Avalon and Jenny, back to you.
Thanks, Chaz. Right after the break, we'll have a live interview with Doug Harwood, founder and publisher of the Rockbridge Advocate. Harwood will share his views on the Lexington City Council referendum results.
We'll also share some more incoming election results, and we'll hear from another set of student experts on what those results could mean for the state of Virginia. Welcome back to the live election night coverage of the Rockbridge Report. Let's look at some more results from our local races.
Absolutely. So right now we are going to look at how the candidates did for the U.S. House District 6 in each of the different cities in our area. So taking a look at Buena Vista, we see that Ben Klein did very well. He took 71% of the vote with 4 out of 5 precincts reporting so far.
Up next, we have Lexington City, and Jennifer Lewis has a slight lead on Ben Klein with 54.5% of the vote, and Ben has 44.6% of the vote with 1 precinct reporting.
And taking another step and look at Rockbridge County, we see that the incumbent Ben Klein has 75.1% of the vote with 16 out of 20 precincts reporting so far.
Up next, we have the Glasgow Town Council, and we have Marcy Hill with 40.6% of the vote, Natalie Harris for 35.8% of the vote, and write-in with 23.4% of the vote, with one precinct reporting.
And zooming in into Goshen, the mayor, we have no results from this race just yet.
And we also do not have any results for the Goshen Town Council, but we'll get those numbers later on.
On a national level, voting isn't going smoothly everywhere. Authorities in one Illinois county say a suspected hack attack delayed voting for some people this morning. This happened in Champaign, in the central part of the state. The county clerk told CNN someone gained access to the election website, and that caused a brief delay in accessing voter information. The issue was resolved quickly and did not impact voting. It's unclear who may be responsible. Election officials say their security team has fended off hack attacks over the past month, but say the attempts have not hampered people's ability to vote.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, a conversation with two other student experts in which will help us unpack the election results as they come in.
And we'll be live with the founder and publisher of the Rockbridge Advocate, Doug Harwood, to talk about the Lexington City Council referendum results. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report's live midterm election coverage. I'm Avalon Purnell.
And I'm Jenny Helwig.
U.S. House Representatives, the 6th District, we already have an answer as to who will likely be the winner. Ben Cline is ahead with 64.2% of the vote and 253 of 323 precincts reporting so far.
Next up, we are doing a breakdown of the 11 seats in the House of Representatives, which is for the state of Virginia. We have 7 seats currently underneath Democratic control, 4 seats underneath Republican control, and as we said earlier, that is likely to change because we have some new results coming in.
Absolutely. Cool. Right now we are looking at the Democrats having solidly 4 of those seats and Republicans also having 4 seats, but 3 are currently in the toss-up, and we're still going to look to see when we will find out which party has won which.
Next up, we're going back to the Lexington City Council, where once again we have 4 candidates running for 3 seats. Still kind of early, we have 1 precinct out of 4 reporting, and we have Charles Smith, the incumbent, with 30% of the vote, David Sigler with 29.6% of the vote, we have Nicholas Betts with 24.4% of the vote, and Colette Berry-Reck with 13.9% of the vote.
And we also have some of the results in, but again, very early for the direct election of the school board, which was a referendum on Lexington City's ballot. Right now, 69.4% of the votes are in favor of changing the school board to be elected by voters, and that is with 1 out of 4 precincts reporting so far.
Now live from Jefferson Street, we have our reporter Lily Mott, joined by Doug Harwood, founder and publisher of the Rockbridge Advocate. Lily?
I'm Lily Mott, and I'm here with Doug Harwood, the editor of the Rockbridge Advocate. And Mr. Harwood, we have 1 out of 4 precincts reporting about the referendum vote. And so far, the yeses are in the majority. Can you tell me your thoughts on how this is going to shake out tonight?
Well, since the precinct reporting is the big one, the rest of them are absentee ballots and early ballots. Obviously, it's going to win. And, people, of course, they're going to vote to give themselves a chance to vote. So people like to do that, so it was almost a foregone conclusion before it even started.
And what's next after this? Of course, Rockbridge County and Buena Vista both have elected school boards. What can we kind of expect? What would you predict? What would you look for in the future as far as an elected school board?
Well, trying to be clairvoyant is never a good idea for someone who's not, and I'm not. It all depends who runs and who wins. And, that's what's going to make the difference. It boils down to personalities and human beings and how they are. And so if one member of City Council predicted, some crazies run and win, well, things will get crazy. And if, on the other end, some of the people who are really concerned and care about the schools in the city and want to keep what's good about them and improve what's not so good about them, if they run and win, things will be fine.
Well, that's it from here. And check back in tomorrow for some more coverage on the Rockbridge Report website, and we'll also have the Rockbridge Report. And that is all I have. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Lily, for this interview, and Mr. Harwood for sharing your views on the referendum, which has been such a divisive subject for the Lexington community.
Now to talk about the results, we're here now with another two of our student experts, Tom Morrell and Payson Richardson, who will help us understand the implications of the numbers we have so far. Tom and Payson, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, what races are both of you guys watching right now?
I've been really watching the Georgia races because I think they have a lot of implications for kind of like the South and the access to abortion and stuff like that as they kind of sit in a sea of red. But then also in terms of Virginia, I'm really curious to see kind of how both the 6th district shapes up and the 7th as well.
I think for me, there's a couple of races that are really in play that have a different set of demographics. I think one is Indiana's 1st district. This is a district that Democrats have held for over 100 years, but Jennifer Ruth Green is putting up a pretty strong challenge against the incumbent Democrat. And then hopping over to my home state of California, California's 47th district, where rising Democratic star Katie Porter is trying to beat back a Republican challenge from former state assemblyman Scott Baugh. This is a district that's trended Democrat in recent years, but still has some GOP strength down ballot in Orange County. So it'll be curious to see, how Republicans are doing with working class voters, and then with more college-educated suburban voters on the West Coast. So,
thanks, Tom. So for both of you guys, what are our current numbers telling us right now?
I think that we can really see that the GOP has kind of had an upswing in a lot of the suburban areas that a lot of people have been talking about, and the Democrats really haven't done as well as we had anticipated, especially considering how Biden did in the 2020 election due to people's dislike of Trump, pretty much. And so the Republican Party has really done a good job, especially with like the suburban middle class, white woman, and they have really had an upswing in that area, especially in like the 7th district, particularly in Virginia.
I think we're seeing some pretty solid numbers for Republicans in Florida. We kind of knew this expecting in. The Democratic Party seems to have triaged spending there. But we're also seeing some great numbers, at least for Republicans, in Virginia's 2nd district down in the Hampton Roads area. We'll see if they're able to hang on if they defeat Congresswoman Elaine Luria. But so far, it's looking decent for the GOP.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, is any of what we're seeing so far been a surprise to either of you guys?
To be quite honest, it's not shocking to see the Democrats kind of lagging, especially in some of the House races. In the Senate, it's looking like it might turn out okay, but a lot of the numbers are still really early on, and so there's a lot of early votes coming in, which do tend to lean pretty left, and so we'll just kind of have to see how it shakes out, but we all kind of had this anticipating coming, a president who is not doing as favorably given the circumstances of the last 2 years of the economy and COVID. The Democratic Party has kind of taken a lot of that blame, and so the midterm kind of is going to show how people are responding to that.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, there are a lot of hopes, I think, late in the campaign in the New Hampshire Senate race with Don Bolduc versus incumbent Senator Maggie Hassan. But Bolduc's numbers, especially in the mail-in votes, don't really seem to be panning out very well for him. We'll have to wait and see. It's still early on, but it's not looking quite as good for Republicans, I think, as they had hoped in those last couple weeks in the campaign.
So for either of you, what have you guys heard about the 2nd and 7th districts in Virginia, and are those the races to watch?
I certainly know that the 7th district in Virginia has been a little bit surprising if you're looking at the numbers right now. A lot of people thought that the Democratic candidate was going to do a lot better than she is as of right now. And she had a lot of support. She had support from Liz Cheney. She had support from the Chamber of Commerce and all of those type of people. And so to see her kind of lagging behind is truly a representation of the fact that Democrats are kind of struggling to kind of get a handle on those middle class voters that we used to kind of have a better handle on.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tom and Payson. This was such an interesting conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we actually have more results in so far. So we have some updates to Lexington City Council. 3 out of the 4 precincts are now reporting, and Chuck Smith is again in the lead with 30.8% of the vote, with David Sigler following behind with 29.9% of the vote. Nicholas Betts is in third place with 26.8% of the vote, with Colette Berry Reck trailing behind with 11.1% of the vote, again with 3 out of the 4 precincts reporting so far.
Next up, we have the Lexington City referendum, which is about the direct election of school board. So right now we have yes winning with 68.2% of the vote and no with 31.7% of the vote. We now have 2 precincts of 4 reporting, so we have a better sense of where this race is going.
That is all for the Rockbridge Report's live midterm election coverage. Thank you for joining us tonight, and make sure to tune in again on Thursday for our weekly newscast.
And to stay up to date on more regional and national news, visit rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.